Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you all had a great Memorial Day weekend. Welcome to our 12th annual New Jersey Bike and Walk Summit. I'm Debra Kagan. I'm the Executive Director of the New Jersey Bike and Walk Coalition. Today at our opening session, we're excited to present two esteemed keynote speakers, Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver and U.S. Representative Mikey Sherrill. Following their presentations, we will announce this year's Marty Epstein Advocate of the Year Award, and then give you an overview of the exciting summit sessions offered this week, including a series by the Safe Routes Academy. Before we get started, I have a couple of housekeeping details. First, this session is being recorded, and all the sessions will be made available on the New Jersey Bike and Walk Coalition website. Second, if you have questions in this session, you can put them in the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. Last year, our summit was on March 7th, and for many of us, it was our last public event just days before the country shut down due to COVID. It has been a very long and very difficult year, but also one of new promise and some exciting developments for creating a more bikeable and walkable New Jersey. The pandemic shutdown sparked a huge increase in the number of people biking and walking across the state. Communities began to embrace new uses for our streets by supporting open and slow street initiatives and reimagining our streets as places for all people, not just those driving cars. Not all developments were positive. With fewer cars on the streets, we actually saw an increase in pedestrian and bicycle fatalities and injuries. This made it painfully clear that in many communities, the policies and necessary infrastructure to support biking and walking are not in place. One of the ways we are meeting that challenge together is by launching the Vision Zero Alliance of New Jersey, a statewide effort to eliminate traffic violence. This year has seen a growing awareness of the role of systemic racism in transportation and planning policies, creating inequities in mobility, safety, health, and access for communities of color. As advocates, we are renewing our commitment to incorporate a critical equity lens in our policies, planning, and funding. We've also seen that advocacy does work. In a major victory last month, a comprehensive safe passing law that advocates have been working on for a decade got unanimous support for the first time in the New Jersey Senate Law and Public Safety Committee and is headed for an Assembly Committee hearing this week. Meanwhile, the Essex Hudson Greenway, a major New Jersey Bike and Walk Coalition campaign, has gained widespread public support across the region and is closer than ever to becoming a reality. And this fall, there will be the first New Jersey Trail Summit to focus and strengthen our statewide efforts to develop more trails and trail networks. We also see hope for policy changes from the federal government with new proposed legislation for safer streets and more funding than in the past for bike ped projects. I hope this summit will be a place for us to take stock, celebrate our achievements, and plan our efforts for the coming year. I would like to thank our platinum sponsors this year, Link, GPI, Helen and William Mazer Foundation, and New Jersey manufacturers for their generous support this year. And now, welcome, and I'd like to turn the screen over to a tireless advocate for active transportation and safe streets, Essex County Commissioner and New Jersey Bike and Walk Coalition Board Member, Brendan Gill, who will introduce our keynote speakers. Thank you.
Thank you, Debra. Thank you so much. And thank you for that introduction. Good afternoon to all of our panelists, our presenters, our award winners, and all who are watching via live stream. Deb, thank you for giving me the opportunity to wear a tie again as we start to recover from this pandemic. And slowly, I'm not sure about that part of coming back, but I got to start to get in the habit of that as well. But before I introduce our keynote speakers, on behalf of the New Jersey Bike and Walk Commission Board of Directors, on behalf of our membership, I'd like to thank you as our Executive Director for all of your hard work in bringing awareness to many of the initiatives that help make our state a healthier and better place to live. I would be remiss if I also did not give a quick acknowledgement and shout out to Cindy Steiner, your predecessor, and Brian Stolar, who both, we can give that a quick, who both were very instrumental in bringing me to these issues very early on in my career in public service. But this organization, and in particular, your support of projects, like Vision Zero, complete streets, and as you noted, the Essex Hudson Greenway, which we have spent significant amount of time working on together, and I think is impressive and worthy of acknowledgement. The scale of the projects and issues that you tackle and we tackle may vary, but they share the same goal. We're working every day to make sure that our communities across our state are more bike and pedestrian friendly. We're ensuring that our roads are safe with respect to traffic and travel. We're promoting environmental responsibility, and we're addressing the concerns of communities which also have traditionally been negatively impacted from a health standpoint due to their proximity to large infrastructure projects and a lack of access to safe outdoor recreational areas for exercise and leisure time. So it's an honor for me to take part in this year's summit, as these issues are particularly very important to me and so many members of the communities in which I represent. And I want to thank everyone in attendance again for their opportunity, for their time and this opportunity. With that, I'd like to introduce our first keynote speaker, a person who's very familiar to all of us and to these issues. We were honored to be joined by the Lieutenant Governor of New Jersey, Sheila Oliver. In addition to serving as the Lieutenant Governor, she is the Commissioner of the New Jersey Department of Communities Affairs. Throughout her career, the Lieutenant Governor has been a tireless advocate for social justice and has led the efforts to strengthen and expand initiatives for community revitalization, while bolstering local government services that support New Jersey's 565 municipalities. I think we've all had the pleasure of working closely with the Lieutenant Governor, whether she was in the Assembly when she was the Speaker, or in her current role as a statewide elected official in a multitude of areas over the years during both my time as a Commissioner and our board's time working on these issues that are so important each and every day. Born and raised in the city of Newark, she is one of Essex County's most prominent public servants, and as Lieutenant Governor, she brings the same passion that she had for Essex County to all of New Jersey each and every day. So with that, please welcome the one and only, the Honorable Lieutenant Governor, Sheila Oliver.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the 2021 New Jersey Bike and Walk Summit. I'm Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver. I'm thrilled to join the New Jersey Bike and Walk Coalition to talk about some exciting things happening in New Jersey and across the country with regard to new projects and safety advocacy for pedestrians and bicyclists. I want to first thank Essex County Commissioner Brendan Gill for the introductions, as well as Executive Director Debra Kagan, Board Chair Brian Stolar, and the entire board and staff of the New Jersey Bike Walk Coalition. You are doing great work by focusing on the issues of importance to bicyclists and pedestrians in New Jersey. Governor Murphy and I commend you for your efforts. When we talk about pedestrian safety, we cannot limit our conversations to sidewalks, crosswalks, and stoplights. We need to shift the focus beyond these conversations to designing, quote, complete streets that are safe for all bikers and walkers. We need to improve and design them so that they are safe and inclusive for people of all abilities, ages, and income levels. Some of you may be aware that in addition to my role serving as Lieutenant Governor of New Jersey, I also serve as Commissioner of the Department of Community Affairs. Within DCA, we focus on many issues of concern to public safety. One of the divisions within DCA is local planning services. Our local planning team works closely with communities to achieve local land use and planning goals and provides technical assistance to municipalities. Our professional staff offers comprehensive planning services at no cost to local governments. The division offers master plans and redevelopment plans by assisting municipalities in the development, drafting, and re-examination of their master plans, which can include proposing safe pedestrian and bike routes within a town or city. In 2019, local planning services prepared a bicycle and pedestrian master plan for the township of Brick. The plan provided a roadmap for the township's vision of making Brick a place where walking and bicycling are safe, enjoyable, and convenient for all people of all ages and abilities. It sought to effectuate the township's goal of creating a bicycle path network that connects residential neighborhoods to shopping centers, beaches, open space, and other recreational opportunities in their community. Through extensive collaboration with the town, the plan was designed to improve safety, enhance accessibility, mobility, community health, sustainability, and connectivity, and to help the town become a complete streets community, which means it addresses every road user's need for access and mobility, irrespective of age, ability, or income. Ultimately, the plan will serve as a guide to Brick Township, the county, and the New Jersey Department of Transportation staff and partners when making investments in Brick's active transportation infrastructure. LPS also runs the Main Street New Jersey program, which is a Main Street America coordinating program. The Main Street New Jersey program works with communities in New Jersey, providing on and off-site technical assistance and training in downtown revitalization and management. It is an especially important tool for towns that are committed to creating high-quality places and to building stronger communities through preservation-based economic development. When we create safe spaces for pedestrians and bicyclists to exist, we attract new families and individuals to our towns and our cities. These infrastructure improvements can have a valuable and lasting impact on our local economies. In addition to the work we do at the Department of Community Affairs, the New Jersey Department of Transportation offers engineering guidelines and a master plan for roadways that are compatible with bicyclists and walkers and serves as a resource center for statewide projects. The DOT's New Jersey Bicycle and Pedestrian Master Vision, goals, and strategies are to achieve a transportation system in which walking and bicycling are routine, convenient, and secure throughout the state. When I speak of these visions for the future, I think of the ongoing effort that Commissioner Brendan Gill has spearheaded with the Essex Hudson Greenway project. This project is designed to help improve residents' access to the outdoors and create new recreational and transportation opportunities while offering safe off-road riding and walking. It will offer residents of our communities, including the one that I live in, easier access to nature and outdoor activities. In addition to the transportation infrastructure, health, and environmental improvements, the Essex Hudson Greenway project will also have a positive, lasting impact on local economies while offering residents safe alternative ways to get to their places of employment. But this is more than just providing commuting alternatives or even about giving people greater access to nature. It's about connecting people to their communities and the communities around them. We need to continue to foster these new and emerging ideas to make them become a reality. We need more safe spaces within our state for pedestrians and bicyclists on the street and off-road, especially in our urban areas and communities of color, which have been historically overburdened with pollution and overdevelopment. The state plays an important role in making certain that we promote equity with these open space, mobility, and transportation infrastructure improvements to ensure that they are benefiting all residents. One thing that we have learned from this pandemic in New Jersey is that people need increased access to outdoor recreation for their physical and mental health. The Department of Community Affairs has an Office of Recreation that works to ensure the professional competency of the people who run recreation programs in the state, and is tasked with expanding the number and diversity of recreation programs that integrate individuals with disabilities. They provide technical assistance and grants for recreation opportunities and athletics for individuals with disabilities in our communities. In April, the DCA Division of Local Government Services announced a new local recreation improvement grant program that is being offered to New Jersey counties, municipalities, and school districts. We allocated $2.5 million in the fiscal year 2021 budget to this competitive grant program that supports improvement and repair of public recreation facilities, including local parks, municipal recreation centers, and local stadiums. We did this because we know that providing people of all ages and abilities with public access to community recreation is imperative given the current strain on communities confronting the COVID-19 pandemic. Access to outdoor recreation and community resources is critical for mental and physical health, particularly for those residents with limited or no other access to quality outdoor space or private recreational opportunities. We have also learned that people have changed the way that they live and work due to measures put in place to reduce the spread of COVID-19. People have adapted to the circumstances, and they are demanding greater local access to commuting alternatives and outdoor recreation. We need to work together with the new administration to use the funding and resources we receive strategically as we carve out a vision for the future of transportation. I'm very encouraged by the Biden administration and Transportation Pete Buttigieg's $2 trillion infrastructure bill that, if passed, will make much needed infrastructure repairs to our bridges, roads, and tunnels in New Jersey, as well as provide investments in electric vehicles for a cleaner environment and broadband access to support remote work. We look forward to working with organizations like Bike and Walk New Jersey and state and federal leadership to help shape those visions and make them become a reality across the entire state. Thank you for attending this important summit today to help foster and develop a safer and more equitable space for pedestrians and cyclists in New Jersey. Have a great event.
Thank you so much, Lieutenant Governor Oliver, for joining us today. That was very, very well said, and we were honored to have you here with us today. I noted earlier what a fantastic job Debra Kagan has done in putting together this summit as the executive director of the New Jersey Bike and Walk Coalition. And she, through tireless effort, actually had the opportunity to bring together two dynamic speakers. And we just heard from one, and we're going to hear from the next in just a minute. I know she's on a very, very tight schedule, so I'm going to not give the 10 to 15 minute introduction that I had originally prepared for the Congresswoman, but I will say that I think all of us on this call and in this organization are familiar with Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill and her work. I have seen firsthand during this pandemic her commitment to our community, whether she is helping out in our food drives, assisting with getting the resources to small businesses that they need, and also fighting for infrastructure advocacy and transportation advocacy that our region so desperately needs. I also get to see her from time to time walking around our hometown. So I know she is absolutely very sensitive to bike and walk advocacy because she is a walker for sure. That's where you can catch her. I guess I'm giving away a secret so, as she takes her daily constitutional. But it's my honor and privilege to bring up and to join us today our Congresswoman, the Honorable Mikey Sherrill.
Well, thanks, Brendan. That's so nice of you. Thanks for that introduction. That was great to hear from Lieutenant Governor Oliver. I also want to thank Debra for organizing today's event. It's so wonderful to be speaking here at the 12th Annual New Bike and Walk Summit. Over the years, NJBWC has been a great advocate for resident safety and promoting a healthy and green lifestyle. Yes, Brendan has seen me out and about walking, sometimes very slowly running, trying to lose some of my COVID weight that I keep eating a lot of M&Ms, so it's not helpful. But throughout the pandemic, especially during the early months of lockdown, many people turned to biking and walking as a way to get out safely, and they've now built it more permanently into their daily lives. So with more pedestrians and bikers on the road, the need to prioritize road safety measures is greater than ever. In the upcoming federal infrastructure bill, known as the American Jobs Plan, $20 billion is allocated for a vulnerable road user safety program to ensure that we're rebuilding our infrastructure in a manner that is safe and accessible for different forms of transportation. You know, it's so remarkable when I go down to Washington, D.C., you can take a bike path from Washington, D.C. out to the Blue Ridge Mountains. And so I would love to see us have that accessibility here in New Jersey. More accessible and safer options for cyclists and pedestrians is going to be a critical part of our efforts to confront the climate crisis. Along those lines, this legislation also provides $174 billion to electric vehicle development, adoption, and charging to help reduce America's carbon footprint produced by cars. But the reality is we'll need to do more to fully address the climate crisis, and reimagining how transportation works is going to be crucial. New Jerseyans know the importance of clean air, clean drinking water, and protecting our natural resources. We live in the most densely populated state in the country. We have treasures like the Jersey Shore and the Highlands, as well as immediate environmental challenges like EPA Superfund sites and brownfields. We know that tackling climate change isn't a singular issue. It's an environmental issue, it's an economic issue, it's an innovation issue, it's a national security issue, and it's a justice issue. As chairwoman of the Environment Subcommittee within the House Committee on Science, Space, and Technology, I'm working to ensure we address all aspects of the climate crisis by supporting critical environmental research that grows our clean energy economy, improves our national security, and secures New Jersey's future. The opportunity to affect real change is so much greater when we're able to tackle whole problems with holistic solutions. That means approaching policy with the understanding of how issues like racial justice, climate change, public health, economic inequality, and so many others intersect and influence each other. And our policy solutions need to be mindful of that intersection. Innovation is also critical when crafting public policy. An area this is needed in is regarding traffic fatalities and injuries. We lose thousands of loved ones every year to traffic accidents that could be avoided. The ideas behind Vision Zero show a promising future, and we've seen the results in Washington, D.C., thanks to Mayor Muriel Bowser adopting this mission. If those policies were replicated across New Jersey, it would be better and safer for all of us. Last fall, I began working on legislation to provide grant funding to Vision Zero and other road safety programs so that they could implement their critical initiatives. These types of programs have long lacked the resources that they need due to funding constraints within the Highway Trust Fund. But this is why the American Jobs Plan is so important. The $20 billion set aside for road safety within the proposal can specifically be used for Vision Zero programs. And I'm working hard now to ensure that the final legislation that is signed into law includes this critical provision. As I mentioned before, I'm the chair of the Environmental Subcommittee. One of my top concerns there is preserving and expanding open spaces for residents. That advocacy includes things like my work to help pass the bipartisan Great American Outdoors Act, which protects our public lands and permanently funds the Land and Water Conservation Fund. Similarly, the Essex Hudson Greenway is a project I am very supportive of, and I was ecstatic to hear the deal to purchase the land could be finalized by the end of the year. The NJBWC's vision and hard work on this project is quite inspiring. The space could be such a positive improvement, expanding opportunities for recreation and community to the 8 towns it touches and the state as a whole. I'm really hopeful about the future of this project. This greenway will be, as you all know, built on an old train line, which is a perfect segue into taking a moment to talk about the transportation and infrastructure package, including, of course, the Gateway Tunnel, which I hope you'll indulge me for a minute to speak about. Addressing the most critical surface infrastructure project in our country, the Gateway Tunnel, funding its extensive investments in research and development, expanding broadband, making investments in green infrastructure, or expanding access to the educational opportunities that will help students get the training they need to be successful in the economy of the future. The next wave of investments we make as we look towards recovery are going to be crucial to building an economy that works for everyone. We received some good news last week from the Department of Transportation. They've completed the environmental review process for the Hudson River Tunnel. This will allow the project to move forward on property acquisition, engineering work, and other pre-construction work. With this approval granted, I now look forward to working with the administration on the American Jobs Plan to ensure that projects of national and regional significance, like the Gateway Tunnel, get the funding they need. Our train lines have been dubbed the Achilles heel of the Northeast Corridor. If we were to see a major collapse or crumbling of lines, the regional and national economy would suffer a major blow. But investing in this infrastructure project would not only be a smart, safe, and economical decision, it would also be a groundbreaking improvement in quality of life. Millions of commuting Americans would see their lives change. A late or canceled train isn't just a minor inconvenience. It means the difference between missing a child's soccer game, not making it home for dinner, or not making it to a night class. Increasing the number of trains and access to train lines would also expand economic opportunities for people. It's much easier to hold down a good job that is a little further away if there's close and reliable public transportation. I speak about all of these because they're all crucial pieces of the puzzle in our efforts to reimagine how we look at transportation initiatives, making them more equitable and sustainable. We know that for too long, the same communities that have often been forced to rely on walking, biking, and public transit on a daily basis are often the same communities who receive the least amount of investment. The most bare essential infrastructure like continuous sidewalks or bike lanes are often missing from these communities. And that's not to mention the lack of reliable public transit. Talking about those realities helps bring the attention needed to make investments. So making investments in this infrastructure everywhere helps our efforts to make it even more communities, so on and so on. So eventually, with enough advocacy and the right prioritization, we'll get to a place where our communities have the equitable and sustainable transportation infrastructure we need. I want to thank you all for having me here today, and I'm happy to take your questions.
Thank you, Representative Cheryl. This is terrific. Really appreciate your time and coming on today. And it's great to see you. I also see you sometimes walking around Montclair too. So it's great to see you and have you at our summit today. And I also want to thank you very much for your leadership in getting the long overdue Gateway project approved. It's terrific work, and I know that we will all benefit very much in the near future. So there's a couple of questions that people have submitted during registration, and I know you have a short amount of time, so we'll just give you a couple to talk about. You've already spoken a little bit about the new funding that's coming forward through infrastructure, the jobs plan, and of course the upcoming reauthorization of the FAST Act is before Congress. And you've talked about the possibilities of having some funding, more funding for bike ped projects. But what really needs to be done to make active transportation a priority so that this is really something that Congress is discussing as a national policy?
So we've seen a real movement in that effort. The last transportation bill we passed in the House over in the last Congress had quite a bit of funding for bike projects, walking projects. You know, what people talk about sometimes as the difficulty of that last mile. You might be able to take commuter trains or buses to a certain point, but how do you then from that point You know, a mile doesn't sound like a long way, but it is if you're having difficulty walking in snow and ice and you don't have a cleared sidewalk or bike path. So these are the things that the last infrastructure bill looked at very specifically, and we see that in the new vision of the American Jobs Plan, how we are going to make sure that we're investing in just those things. I'll tell you, I had a fantastic conversation with Pete Buttigieg. I was talking to him about what I'm always talking to him about, which is the Gateway Tunnel project. However, I said to him, but you know, the Gateway Tunnel, while incredibly critical to New Jersey and this nation, quite frankly, is the first step in revising a lot of our infrastructure needs across the district. Every road in Morris County is over capacity at this point, right?
Right.
And so if you have the Gateway Tunnel project, people move a little further out, what's going to happen there? And I said, I need a 50-year infrastructure plan. What are we envisioning? And he said, that we all would love that. He said, but it's changing so rapidly. I foresee a near future where people don't even own cars, where you just kind of call up or put in your app, probably more likely, that you need a pickup at such and such a time, and your driverless electric car comes to grab you, deposit you there. And the reason I say that is because that reimagines everything, right? If you're a developer and you're developing a huge business park, one of the major things you're thinking about is parking lots. Right? Imagine if you don't need parking lots. Imagine what we could do greening the parking lots, or putting some solar panels in some of those areas, et cetera. So these are all things we're reimagining and re-envisioning. And that's why I've also been so focused on research and development, because we need to break some of these paradigms if we're going to be thinking about the next generation and what our infrastructure looks like for that. So that's all very exciting. And we now have, unlike Secretary Chow, who blocked the Gateway Tunnel project at every single turn, we now have a Secretary of Transportation who really wants to re-envision what the nation's infrastructure looks like. So we're on a very, very good path right now, I think.
Terrific. It's very exciting news. So you spoke a little bit about Vision Zero. We got a question. In the last decade, really, pedestrian fatalities have risen across the country about 46%. And here in New Jersey, some of our cities, Jersey City and Hoboken, have passed Vision Zero policies. So do you see that there's a potential for a national Vision Zero policy? And is there funding in the infrastructure bill or the family jobs bill that could be directed to developing Vision Zero policies?
Yeah, so as I think a lot of people know, President Biden's actually personally experienced traffic violence, which took his wife and young daughter. So he's known for his empathy and his ability, because of that, probably to comfort those who've suffered that kind of loss. And I think it makes him acutely sensitive to this issue in particular. So I'm sure if a Vision Zero piece of legislation was passed, he would strongly support it and sign it into law. As for Congress, Congressman Earl Blumenauer from Oregon introduced HR 3562, which would allow states to use funding provided under the Surface Transportation Block Grant Program and the Highway Safety Improvement Program to develop and implement Vision Zero plans in eligible localities. It's currently being reviewed by Transportation and Infrastructure, the committee in the House, to see how that might fit into a piece of legislation. Because traffic safety, as you can imagine, is not and should not be a partisan issue. So this is something that I think we can really work together in Congress to see a bill supporting in the future, and how we make sure that as we're funding some of our surface projects, we are ensuring that we have a more safe environment for pedestrians, bikers, et cetera.
Well, we'll follow this issue. As you know, there's a New Jersey Vision Zero Alliance been formed. So we're going to be looking at a statewide policy as well. So we'll keep in touch on that. I have one last question. You've been a supporter of the Essex Hudson Greenway, and thank you so much for your long support on that. The project is nearing, as you mentioned, a critical deadline this year. And so some of our listeners want to know what we can do, what should be done to make sure we don't lose this once in a lifetime opportunity to build this transformational project for the region.
Well, I was really pleased to hear our Lieutenant Governor discussing it, and she sounded very supportive of this Greenway, and so it sounds like it's on a good path. I think just ensuring that that you continue your advocacy, which sounds like it's been very powerful. I mean, just hearing her speak, you guys have done a fantastic job in your advocacy. And then in the future, I would be happy to work with the committee on any possibilities for federal funding, if there's opportunities for that as well. We'd be happy to talk to the committee on that, because there are several. We just did the surface transportation, but there will be more earmarks coming up, presumably next year, and other opportunities that we could look at for funding.
That would be terrific. We'll definitely be in touch.
That sounds great. Well, and
so
I just have to give a shout out before I leave to Brendan, who I know has been such a strong advocate and working hard to make sure that we get these open spaces. It's really a game changer. I mean, just full disclosure, I have like a stationary bike at home, but I sort of quit road biking because there were no paths to get on, and and I mean, to have that kind of path where people could recreationally bike is great, especially because, as you guys mentioned, I like running. I do some walking when my hips start to really bother me, but I feel like, it's not forever, right? Like, I feel like biking might be in my future, but only if, there are safe spaces to do that. So it's wonderful that you guys have been so supportive and working so hard.
Great. Well, I look forward to going on a bike ride with you. That would be.
I don't know if you should look forward.
You could really highlight the necessity for
yes.
Greenway.
That sounds great. But thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
So much. Thank you so much.
Commissioner Gill, great seeing you. And I will talk to everyone soon.
Thank you, Representative Show. Really appreciate your time and your comments. Thank you again.
Have a great one.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, that was great. Thank you. And thank you to both our keynote speakers, to Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver and to U.S. Representative Mikey Sherrill so much. They really covered a whole range of issues I think that we'll be talking about for quite a while going forward. So now I'd like to introduce the second half of our opening session, which is the award section. Each year, the New Jersey Bike and Walk Coalition selects recipients for the Advocate of the Year award. The award is given to individuals and organizations, and it recognizes excellence in the bicycle and pedestrian advocacy movement. Recipients have proven to be transformative community leaders for biking and walking. In 2019, the New Jersey Bike and Walk Coalition Board of Directors honored their board member, Marty Epstein, with the award. And Marty passed away in May of that year. So in 2020, the board further honored Marty's 41 years of advocacy. So really a whole lifetime dedicated in New Jersey by naming the award the Marty Epstein Advocate of the Year Award. So we're looking for this award to have Marty's name and his efforts to make New Jersey a more livable place through bicycling. His leadership and his inspiration to others will live on through this award. And this year, we are pleased to present the 2021 Marty Epstein Advocate of the Year Award to the following 4 awardees: Mayor Stephen Fulop of Jersey City, Princeton Pedestrian and Bicycle Advisory Committee, Cindy Steiner, New Jersey Bike and Walk Coalition Advisory Board Member, and the Trenton Cycling Revolution. So today we're going to have 2 of our board members present those awards. So presenting the awards are board members Brian Stolar and Ray Cipollini. And I'm going to turn over the screen to Brian to start the awards. Brian, the floor is yours.
Great. Hi. Thanks so much, Deb. I'm really excited to announce the Marty Epstein Advocate of the Year Award. Marty was a friend, board member, as Deb said, a 41-year advocate. owner of bike stores. He was just absolutely one of the backbones of bicycle advocacy in New Jersey. And we really miss him, and we're just so glad that this honor can be bestowed upon worthwhile and deserving people in Marty's memory. So first, I'm really excited as well to present the award to Mayor Fulop, known for a long time. He doesn't really need an introduction. For those of us who are old enough to know that Jersey City had several false starts, when he got on board, that was the end of the false starts. And that's when it really locked into gear. And recently, he actually started the first New Jersey bike share program with City Bike, something that I know at the coalition we've worked on with various towns and counties for a long time. And he bit the bullet, made it happen. And they've got an aggressive infrastructure to make it work. As Representative Cheryl said before, without the bike lanes and without the infrastructure, the bikes really can't go anywhere. As an avid cyclist myself, we've all seen how you really need that to be safe and to be effective. And his master plan, his bike master plan, even includes Vision Zero 2026, which again means no fatalities for those of you who are not aware of it. And the thing I'm most excited about, Mayor, is your commitment to the Essex Hudson connectivity, what we're calling the Greenway. It's about 11 miles to Montclair, where my offices are. And I just imagine those electric pods that Representative Cheryl was talking about, bikes, walking, living in Jersey City, working in Newark, going from Montclair to Jersey City to see friends, etc. Cindy Steiner and I started working on this about 8 years ago, folks before us. And now the time is really right. So look forward to more on that, and very, very happy to announce this award to you, Mayor.
Brian, let me just say thank you, and it's great to see you. I look forward to seeing you again in person, and to Deb and the entire coalition. I take this very seriously because we've put a lot of time and effort into improving Jersey City and making it a leader on biking and cycling from a national standpoint, not just Jersey City. And we couldn't be more excited about what we've done. We're lucky to have good advocates here that make partnerships easy. And I'm excited about riding my bike to Montclair and having dinner there in the not too distant future. And so we're gonna have to work together on that to make that a reality. But we're gonna be fully on board with whatever resources Jersey City needs to provide to make sure that Hudson County as a whole is there 100%. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, and we'll be sending you your award.
Thank you.
You get it in person, actually, Mayor. It's just a matter of time. All right, so now I'm excited as well and really thrilled to give the next award to a group. And it's always hard to make these selections, and Debra, as our executive director, really looked far and wide across the state. And the Princeton Bike and Pedestrian Advisory Committee really stood out. There are a lot of municipalities that do a lot of work, and it's all great stuff, but they have really stood out and made themselves special. They're community volunteers. They're focused relentlessly on creating networks for bikes and pedestrians, bike lanes. The first New Jersey community to get the Silver Award status for the National League of Bicyclists, which is not an easy thing to do. And, you know, we're competing against other national locations that are a little bit more advanced than New Jersey, as some of you might imagine, such as, you know, California and other places. They've included bike parking in projects, and as a real estate developer, I've always tried to do that. And the coalition, in fact, initiated the Bike Depot, place where you could bring your bike to a train station, take the train, and bring it back to the development where you live. And it's always critical to find that. And I really applaud this because sometimes, candidly, we even have a hard time getting planning boards to accept it. And now in Princeton, it's going to be a required element, which is really great. The bike paths, huge, huge things. Safety, there's a lot of different programs. During, I think, the summit, Deb has a few things lined up about safe travels to schools. To date myself, when I was a kid, no helmets, sorry, we didn't have them then. We all rode our bikes to school. It was the thing we did, as I recall. but that went away over time. So Princeton's really shepherded that along, and they're also committed to the Vision Zero task force. So we're really just thrilled, and we hope to see much more from the advisory committee in Princeton, and we're ecstatic to give you this award.
Thank you so much. This is Lisa Sariasol. I'm speaking on behalf of the Pedestrian and Bicycle Advisory Committee, and we're truly grateful and honored to receive this award. Thank you so much to Marty's family and to the Bike and Walk Coalition, and Brian, thank you as well.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for all you do.
PBAC benefits enormously. I just wanted to put a couple more thank yous out there from the advice and collaboration we get from the committee's liaisons, our council member, David Cohen, and our municipal engineer, Deanna Stockton, who we work with very closely, as well as with the police and our public works staff and the public schools. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. I'm going to hand it over to our board member, Ray Cipollini, to present the award to Cindy Steiner, but I would be remiss on a personal level, on a professional level, not to just say that Cindy is probably one of the people in this advocacy world nationally who deserves an award as much as anybody ever could. She's just done over the years an incredible job. And we know that she had to move on and take on other family responsibilities. But Deb was really fortunate to have Cindy as a predecessor and has really taken the baton. And the work you did, Cindy, was amazing. I'm not going to take any thunder from Ray, but I just had to say thank you.
Thank you.
Well said, Brian, and thank you. And also congratulations to the Princeton Pedestrian and Bicycle Advisory Committee for their award. It's my pleasure to introduce Cindy Steiner. And I'm going to go through quite a lot here. Cindy is a lifetime member of the New Jersey Bike and Walk Coalition and has served as the executive director from July of 2012 through June of 2019. Advocacy wins under Cindy's direction include the 2014 to 2020 pursuit of the Norfolk Southern Railroad, the Essex Hudson Greenway, and engagement of Open Space Institute for successful, successful negotiation of the rail line, safety improvements for bike riders on the George Washington Bridge during the Restoring the George 10-year cable replacement project, complete streets implementation policy for Monmouth County, passage in 2018 of Assembly Bill 4165, Senate Bill 2894, which required the state's driver's education course, manual and license exam to include bike rider and pedestrian safety information. It's a long time coming. Organization of the annual New Jersey Bike and Walk Summit from 2013 to 2019. Leader of the New Jersey delegation to the annual National Bike Summit from 2013 to 2018. Creation and launch of the Bike Depot program in New Jersey with depots in Montclair, Bloomfield, and the city of Elizabeth. And the rescue of $12 million of the state's transportation alternative funds, TAP funds, that were set to lapse back to the federal government in September of 2018. She has also helped launch and provide guidance to more than a handful of local advocacy organizations, including the Asbury Park Complete Streets Coalition, Bike and Walk Montclair, Bike and Walk Milburn, Friends of the Ice and Iron Greenway, Northern Valley Greenway Committee, and others. Cindy is also a certified league cycling instructor with the League of American Bicyclists. Previous roles Cindy held were Vice Chair of the Board of Directors of Bike New York, where she served from 2001 to 2019, member of the National Bike Walk Action Advisory Committee, member of the Executive Committee of the New Jersey Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Council of the New Jersey Department of Transportation, an advisory board member of the September 11th National Memorial Trail Alliance. I don't think Cindy sleeps. This very long-winded, a lot of accomplishments, and I think this just is the tip of the iceberg. Anybody that knows Cindy knows that She's got cycling and pedestrian advocacy running through her blood. And as I said, I don't think she sleeps. I don't know how she does it all. But it's my pleasure and honor to introduce Cindy for this important award.
Thank you, Ray. I really appreciate it. I'd like to thank Board Chair Brian Stolar, Commissioner Brendan Gill, also a board member, and you, Ray, for this award. I appreciate and thank the Marty Epstein family for the support of this award. I thank the community of bike and pedestrian advocates that's grown considerably in the time that I've been here. We each play an important role. Together, we've been able to move forward our mission of a stronger, more vibrant, better place to live. There are some individuals that I would like to call out. The first three on the agency side: Elise Bremer-Nye of NJDOT, Leanne Von Hagen of the Voorhees Transportation Center, and Charles Brown of Equitable Cities, for their partnership, willingness to collaborate, for helping us understand what the boundaries are, and for always being at the table. And next, partners in crime, Jerry Foster of the West Windsor Bike and Pedestrian Alliance, to John Boyle, the Bicycle Coalition of Greater Philadelphia, and to the incomparable Jana Chernitz of Tri-State Transportation Campaign. I thank you profoundly for being there when I came along and taking me under your wing, teaching me everything I know, for together redefining those boundaries, for seeing what's possible, and for together creating a vision for a better, more vibrant, more livable New Jersey. And lastly, I want to thank from the bottom of my heart, Brendan Gill, and also I will be forever grateful to the Open Space Institute for being there, both of you, when Brian and I returned from Pittsburgh in the spring of 2018 from a meeting with the real estate department at Norfolk Southern. And we had a secret in our pocket that the answer had gone from no to yes, that they were ready to sell. And so Open Space Institute met with us. They picked up the challenge right away, negotiated, and got us to where we are today. So now it's up to us again as advocates to drive it home. But I truly thank them and Brendan Gill for being there. So thank you again for this award, and I wish all of you luck and good luck with this summit.
And I would just like to add a real quick note, which is, Cindy, you have left very hard shoes to fill.
No, Deb, you've done a tremendous job also.
I want to just thank you so much for all your help, your mentorship, and for staying on the advisory board to help us through this period as you have changed your role. So thank you. Your contributions to biking and walking in New Jersey will be with us for many, many, many decades. So
thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Good luck to you. You're doing a great job too. Thanks.
Okay, our next award is for the Trenton Cycling Revolution. And this is this year's Marty Epstein Advocate of the Year Award. And it's to the Trenton Cycling Revolution, TCR. TCR is a 23-year-old organization dedicated to creating a safe and healthy environment for bicyclists in Greater Trenton through education, engagement, advocacy, and promotion. Its members have many different roles in the community and bring cycling and pedestrian safety as a priority to all of their activities. TCR's flagship event, the Tour de Trenton, brings hundreds of cyclists to the region to learn about the city and its history. Their advocacy has played an integral part in creating Trenton's first ever Ciclovia, an open street celebration that features skateboarding, BMX riding, and local arts and culture. They've been instrumental in passing the city's complete streets policy and advancing multiple bike and pedestrian projects within the city. As a direct result of their letter following the Celebrate Trails event, the city of Trenton has painted a new bicycle pedestrian crossing with the Delaware River Canal Trail intersects with Mulberry Street. Thanks to their efforts, bike racks have been installed throughout the city, providing a safe place to lock up bikes. Additionally, they have an upcoming wayfinding project to be installed soon to help residents and visitors alike navigate through the circuit trails. Trenton Cycling Revolution is a grassroots, put a wrench in your hand organization that meets cyclists where they're at and on track to give out over 600 kids bikes to community members over the past 2 years. In particular, this ward would like to recognize Wills Kinsley for his leadership of the organization and ensuring that all residents of Trenton have access to bicycles as well as bicycle tools. We'd also like to congratulate Jacques Howard as the new president of the organization, as well as the board of TCR's newly formed status as a 501c3 organization. We look forward to seeing the organization continue to grow and are excited to see the city of Trenton advance on becoming a Vision Zero city. So congratulations to the Trenton Cycling Revolution, and I believe Wills Kinsley and Jacques Howard would like to say a few words.
Absolutely. First of all, thank you so much, and I apologize. It looks as though we're having an issue with the video, but I am here, and I do want to say thank you for being recognized for the Marty Epstein Award. And that's very important, and that is literally what Trenton Cycling Revolution is all about, coming together as an organization and having lots of moving parts, and trying to be an organization that is encouraging people in the community to be as active as possible in developing the community that they want. For us to do that, we've partnered with lots of different organizations, and I wouldn't even want to start listing them all. Many of you are part of those organizations, and we appreciate your support. And we look forward to having you be a part of what we're doing going forward, continuing with our events such as the Tour de Trenton, Ciclovia or Ciclovia, but also giving away lots of bicycles and working to make sure that as many people as possible have access to bicycles. And here in Trenton, we have a large contingency of people who are using bicycles for day-to-day transportation and not just for recreation opportunities. And yeah, I have a cat who loves to come onto the camera and say hello to everyone. But I'd like to turn it over to our Director of Operations, Wills Kinsley. Wills is not only an advocate throughout the country for biking, but he's also a fabricator, he's also an artist, and he provides Trenton Cycling Revolution an opportunity to be able to partner with the other organizations who don't know everything that Trenton Cycling Revolution does with cycling and all things human powered with Wills. So at that time, I'd like to turn it over to Wills Kinsley.
Sure. Thanks, Jacques, and thanks everybody at the New Jersey Bike Walk Coalition and all the advocates in the best state, New Jersey. And just wanted to quickly say that I'm lucky to have so many great people to collaborate with in Trenton. And you know, there's a lot of work to be done. It feels kind of like the beginning of, you know, the next wave of new cyclists and people getting out on the street. So it's been just exciting to, you know, see a lot of new faces in the cycling community. And I just wanted to, you know, we're working on our website, trentcycling.org. So for updates about what's going to be going on in the future, check us out there. And huge thanks to the board and everybody who helps us out, and a special shout out to Sonia Stresna for her tireless work and really kind of getting us going here in Trenton, and always being a great resource. And we'll see you on a bike ride in Trenton.
Congratulations. And before we turn it back over to Debra, I just want to quickly say thank you, Deb, for putting this all together and executing your duties very, very well. You had some big shoes to fill, and you have filled them out completely. I also want to thank all the advocates that are attending this. Please keep up the good work. It's very important to the state of New Jersey and to cyclists and pedestrians that we make New Jersey a better community for cyclists and pedestrians statewide.
Thank you, Ray. I couldn't have said it any better. Thank you and congratulations to all the awardees. Just know that your work really, really does make a difference. We have seen what advocates can do across the state. So we applaud you and hope you keep working, and we look forward to working with you in the future. That's our award section of the opening session today. Now what we'd like to do is to give you an overview of the rest of the sessions that are coming up this week. And I'd like to start out with first welcoming and thanking the Safe Routes Academy and Leanne Von Hagen and the New Jersey Department of Transportation for partnering with us again this year and bringing the Safe Routes Academy to the summit. It is always one of the most highlights. So those of you, and there are very few of you who don't know Leanne, Leanne is the managing director, and I'm going to get this title right this time, the Active Transportation and Mobility Safety Voorhees Transportation Center and Safe Routes Resource Center at Rutgers University. Congratulations, Leanne, on that new title. And why don't you walk us through the terrific sessions that are going to be throughout the week from the Safe Routes Academy.
Thanks, Deb. Thanks so much. And I'm really excited to see everybody who's here today. Like Deb said, I'm Leanne Von Hagen, and I'm at both the Safe Routes and the Bicycle Pedestrian Resource Centers at Rutgers University. And for the past 5 years, we have partnered with the Bike and Walk Coalition to run the Academy as a track of sessions at the summit. This year's no different. Even though we miss seeing people in person very much, we are excited to bring you a bunch of online sessions to help participants make their communities more walkable and bikeable. And as many people have said, this past year has brought many challenges and changes. One thing I learned is yoga pants can just now be called pants. Thank you, COVID. But the other thing that is brought up many times is people turn to walking and biking much more. Children turn to riding their bikes as group sports activities and other types of activities were put on hold. Many people found new places to walk and bike in their neighborhoods or in their county or in the state in order to get outside and to relieve that anxiety and stress and just to be out and enjoy their neighborhood. We heard over and over again, I didn't know this was in my state this year. And so those are maybe some of the highlights we can think about as we think about some of the, to overcome some of the sadness from the past year. But we do want to see if we can keep some of the momentum going of what can we do to make it safe to walk in our neighborhoods and to keep people out and active. So on that note, a couple sessions we've got coming up, one including this afternoon starting at 4. We'll be showcasing our Safe Routes coordinators at all 8 of New Jersey's transportation management associations. They are a fantastic resource, so if you're not aware of them, please join us at 4 and you can meet and greet them live on Zoom. We also have a session on addressing transportation safety through the New Jersey Strategic Highway Safety Plan, how better to work with municipalities on implementing complete streets policies and starting advisory boards. And on Friday, a session about tips and strategies for applying for grants. And on that note, all of these sessions are supported by the New Jersey Department of Transportation's Bureau of Safety, Bicycle, and Pedestrian Programs. And we really thank them very much for their continued support. And we thank you, Debbie, and everybody at the Bike Walk Coalition for your partnership in helping us bring these Safe Routes Academy sessions to you. So I hope everybody can join us for all the sessions coming up this week. I am so looking forward to this fantastic week. And I can't wait to have a wonderful summit. I hope you all do as well. Thanks, Deb.
Thanks, Leanne. And thank you again. You really bring tremendous resources to the summit, but not just to the summit, of course. Your advice, your help, all the resources, all of the work that you do across the state through both the Safe Routes and the Bicycle Resource Center are a tremendous resource for us. And we really couldn't do this work without you.
Well, we do try, and we do it on behalf of the Department of Transportation, which we think is a fantastic role for us to play.
Yes, and we really appreciate and enjoy that relationship and working with you. So thank you again.
Okay.
Yes, and I can't wait to hear all the sessions. I'm going to share my screen and talk a little bit about the rest of the other sessions that we have for the week to highlight. And I'm very excited this year. I think we have a tremendous agenda and participation by many people and many new speakers and panelists this year as well. So going to do my share here. Hope you all can see that. So I'm just going to walk you through some of the sessions that are through the rest of the week. On tomorrow, June 2nd, from 4 to 5 p.m., we're going to have a session that's going to COVID lessons learned from tactical to practical. So we've talked a lot about open streets and safe streets and dining in the streets and all different tactical urbanism that it has happened across the state. So this workshop is going to feature Mike Leiden, principal from Street Plans, who has worked a lot in Jersey City on these issues, Courtney Mercer, who's the executive director of Downtown New Jersey, and Bob Noland, who's the director of the Voorhees Transportation Center, who's going to share some recent research about what has been happening in the streets for pedestrians and biking that they've done, and Betsy Massalia, who is the manager of Office and Transit, Bicycle, and Pedestrian Planning for the Delaware Valley Regional Planning. And somehow I'm going to get you to the next slide here. On Thursday, we have 2 sessions, one on trails, equity, and environmental justice, and the intersection of those. His featured speaker will be Olivia Glenn, the Deputy Commissioner for Environmental Justice and Equity from New Jersey DEP, with Brandy Chapman, who is the State Trails Coordinator for the New Jersey DEP, Renee Reynolds, who is the new Executive Director for Tri-State Transportation Campaign. That organization is a major partner, of course, with us in many different issues. And Julia Raskin, who is now the trail manager for the Natural Areas Conservancy in New York, and has written, if any of you have seen the inclusion trail toolkit that she did. We also have a Vision Zero session, Safe Mobility for All, which will be in the morning at 9:30 to 10:30. And there's a whole host of speakers for that, including Sangeeta Benalani from Safe Families, Lisa Sarasol, who we just heard from Pedestrian, Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee from Princeton, Jim Hunt, who has been the lead for the New Jersey Bike and Walk Coalition's campaign around the safe passing law, and Paul Bellenboya from Safe Streets, Jersey City. That session has decided to do a mixer that evening so that people can reconvene and discuss the issues that come up at the panel. Sorry. On Friday, we're going to do another trail-based session, connecting communities throughout stages of trail development. I'm going to talk about the Essex Hudson Greenway. Eleanor Horn is going to talk about the Lawrence Hopewell Trail and the circuit. And Matt Ludwig is going to be talking from NV5, is going to be talking about the Camden Link trails. And Laura Torchio will be moderating. Laura has had a long history of working on both trails and complete streets and project for public spaces in the past. And on Saturday in the morning, we're going to have part 2 of our Advocates in Action. This was a terrific and one of our most successful sessions last year, being led by Polly from Asbury Park. There's going to be representation from a whole number of different towns and advocacy groups across the state, talking about what they've been doing, what's been happening since COVID, where are we with complete streets, where are we with different advisory boards working with municipalities, and different strategies for going forward. And we have a live ride that's being sponsored and hosted by the Bicycle Coalition of Greater Philadelphia. That will be Saturday at 12:45, And there's information about that on the New Jersey Bike and Walk Coalition website. You can sign up for that. And we also have a special for 8 people who receive a code for free registration if you register early. So there's a tremendous variety, something I think for everybody this year. We're very excited to be hosting this. And even though we are not together this year, and I do miss being with all of you, and I'm sure you all miss that part of the networking. This is going to be a fantastic summit this year. We have a lot to learn, to discuss, and to plan our work together. I would like to thank you all for joining us today. I'd like to thank our 2 esteemed speakers, Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver and Representative Mikey Sherrill, for bringing whole perspective from what's happening in the state and nationally to this summit. I'd like to again congratulate the awardees and thank you for all the work you've been doing, and to thank all of you who are supporters for the New Jersey Bike and Walk Coalition. We could not do this work without you. And again, to all of our sponsors this year, we really appreciate your generosity. Thank you all. I hope that you enjoy the rest of the summit, and we'll see you at the different sessions all week. Thank you very much.